Hey guys, we're back to you right now within your best interest. I'm Justin Sisemore. We got a great crew here today, and as promised, we talked a lot about business law and all that super fun, not so fun stuff. We're going to keep mixing it up with some different dynamics of how to live a healthy lifestyle and how to really live a good life. And it really matters across the board. We do care about families and how you move on here. I got a great crew to do that. You're going to meet Mr. Brian Chacha here today. He's got a lot of great tips on wellness and how we get there. So I want to pass it over to you, Mary, so we can get this show on the road.
All right. So there's a lot we want to cover today with you, Chacha. So the biggest thing is we want to talk about people improving their lives in good times and in bad, getting healthy and all that good stuff. And one of the big themes being that you can do this because a lot of people have trouble getting on some sort of program or just living a different life and making changes in their life. So that's going to be a big thing we're going to cover today. We're also going to provide some tips for people that they can use today, talk about some different myths and things, and then just the importance of figuring out why you want to get healthier and live a healthier life. And so we also have Andrea Jones with us today, and I'm Mary Maloney. I'm a freelance writer. Andrea is an entrepreneur and a woman of many, many talents. So let's kind of get started. Chacha, tell us a little bit about your background and what you do and how you help people.
Okay. So background-wise, I have my degree in exercise physiology. I got started doing strength conditioning right out of college and started working with young athletes, high school, middle school age athletes. Got a liking to it, but once the summer was over, I realized I needed to keep the money going. So I decided to jump into personal training. So I opened a small studio out in Mansfield several years ago and started doing personal training and have worked with a number of different athletes, moved to Fort Worth and started working with where I currently am at Strength Studio. I'm doing personal training specifically with active adults and working with athletes as well. So that's kind of the background and up to now.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good. So how do you help in general people get healthier? Kind of just a high overview of that.
So generally speaking, I do a lot more work in helping people realize that the capacity to do work is in them and that the amount of things that they feel they need to do in order to get healthier or in shape or in better shape isn't as big of a list as what it might feel like. So I do a lot of work of helping people just realize, hey, this is much easier to get started. The work may be challenging, but do a lot of work just helping people understand that.
Yeah, definitely. And I know one of the biggest things that we had talked about is the fact that people should know that you can do this.
Right.
I mean, and a lot of people think they can't. So any kind of tips for them to inspire themselves mentally and emotionally, perhaps, on how to just start?
Yeah. So a large part of the apprehension that a lot of people have going to the gym or even starting training is it's an intimidating space. For one, it's dangerous, right? If you don't have the right equipment or you don't know how to use the equipment, you could hurt yourself. Number two, typically in any gym you walk into, there's going to be those people that are seasoned veterans that are really intimidating looking, guys, girls. Everybody looks better than you. Everybody looks like they know what they're doing.
That's true.
You know,
Who's that?
and so there's that apprehension, and then on top of that, let's say you have the courage to walk in, then you have a bunch of different pieces of equipment, different rooms, different classes, sounds, and it's just a stimulus. It's an overload of stimuli, and so knowing how to use that equipment, that is a whole other hurdle to try to climb over, but the reality is this: all our bodies are more or less the same, you know, and the way our bodies function has been pretty consistent throughout human existence. So if you can figure out what your body needs and how to do that, you can accomplish anything you want, especially in the gym. So when it comes to walking into a space, it's, you know, what your goals are, knowing what your goal is or maybe what you want to accomplish, and then figuring out, okay, what does my body need to do, or what does my body need right now? And so that's where I come in, is I help people navigate, where they are, where their bodies may be in space. A lot of people movement, they don't realize that some of their joints aren't moving properly versus others. They don't realize there might be a little bit of an imbalance. But once you learn that about yourself, once you see that, man, it's off to the races. That's those aha moments that people get. That's kind of that's what we're looking for. But anybody can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is a good time for Andrea, for you to pop in, because you work with Chacha and kind of talk about, you were an athlete when you were younger and you've worked out for years, but you went to Chacha to kind of take it to the next level.
Yeah. Yes. I was swimming, I was rowing, I was dancing, always an active person. Then I had kids and then slowed down a little bit, but I always stayed active. But I didn't feel like body composition and strength was there. I always worked out, but I kind of like plateaued, I felt, and I didn't move higher. So after my mom passed, and she was only 76 when she passed, I said, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. And I reached out to Chacha, and he asked me that, what is your goal? Best shape of my life. And we started training, 2019, I think? Yeah. And very consistent. I make working out a priority in my life.
Yes.
Like, it's a priority. There is no negotiation about skipping the gym because there is a client meeting or nothing. It's on my calendar. It's 3 times a week, and everything is scheduled around that. First is family, of course. Second thing is working out. It's my priority. And since we've been working out, you can talk to the results, but since 2019, consistently, normally 3 times a week. And he pushes me, like I'm cussing.
I'm like cussing and stuff.
I'm not always happy, and I question him, like, really? Like, isn't that too heavy and isn't that too much? But over the years, nearly 6 years now, right? Nearly 6 years, we have seen tremendous results. Yeah. And I worked out with my sons, remember a couple of years ago, and they were talking trash to me, 19-year-old twins now, and they're talking trash, Mama, what can you do in the gym? And we took them to the gym and put them through my program, and we have pictures.
Come here, boy.
No, we have pictures of them actually laying on the ground, being exhausted, and they gave me a lot of respect ever since. They don't talk trash anymore. So, but it's the process. I think the interesting thing was, for me, sometimes I don't understand why I'm doing a certain exercise, and then he makes me do pull-ups or dips, and it's like, I can do it. I'm 58 years old, so some of those things other people at my age cannot do anymore, and I'm doing them. My mother had osteoporosis, so I have to do some stuff. My father had heart disease, so there's a reason also to exercise. But for me, it's like, really, once you make it a habit and you don't change and you continue, the results are going to come. When you fit the gym in, whenever it fits your schedule, you're not going to go. No. And I see that when you were on vacation, I think one time I said, I'm just going to go to the gym, get dressed, start working. I never made it to the gym because something else was always more important.
I do want to interject and just talk about Andrea for a little bit. It is true that you can do it, and anybody can do it. I will say there's a particular type of person that has a level of dedication that truly the results that we've gotten with you have come from your heart. There's that when you came in and you said you want to be in the best shape of your life, and how you have trained consistently, like you're talking about, that's one of the characteristics. It's like you have to be dedicated, and your why has to be a really big deal, because you're right. You're doing a lot of really amazing things. You're squatting quite a bit. You're doing a lot of really incredible things, but it's the drive and the discipline and the heart behind, that's what gets the results. Yeah, so anybody can get in the gym, but man, that consistency and that, man, that's
and I'm competitive too. I'm like, when he says do 9 to do 9 to whatever 15, I do 15. If I can, but it's never the lower end. But I think my biggest thing was I want to be around for my kids and grandkids for the longest time, and that's my motivator.
Yeah,
and looking at my mom passing at 76, I want to live until I'm 100, but I will be able to move. I want the quality of life to be there. I don't want to be just live. I want to be able to do. I can still run with my kids. I can still go out, and they're 20 years old. And I can still do all those things and don't want to say, oh, I can't, or I don't feel good, I still take the stairs. I mean, like, sounds old people, but I'm already in the senior citizen. At 58, you can get a coffee at McDonald's for free. I don't know, but you're out there, and then I see other people my age, and it sounds bad, but they have hip issues and knee issues and have weight issues, and I don't have any of those things.
Well, you came in with some aches, right? I mean, we worked through some shoulder stuff, some knee stuff, back stuff, and a lot of that was based on just not having the strength. Kind of going back to you can do this. A lot of the issues that we're concerned with, okay, I don't want to get hurt in there. It's, a lot, if you're stronger, it makes a big difference. Strength solves a lot of problems. And so when we work through that, I think, if I was to encourage anybody that wants to start out, it's like, listen, you don't have to start out at 100 miles an hour. If you come in and you maybe had a rotator cuff injury or anything like that, just getting in there and finding ways to push yourself, but knowing that it's a long tail game. One of my friends says that. This is like 100 years old. You want to be able to move at 100 years old. It's going to take a while. So being able to work through that, there's injuries, but you get stronger. They tend to go away.
And you can start at any time. I mean, when you think, I always worked out. That's different. But I started to really work out over 50.
Right.
So there's no reason at the age of 40 to say, I have never worked out. You might just do different stuff and then get there.
Yeah.
I wish y'all could talk to more people in the world.
We're trying.
So, Justin, you work out a lot too. So what's your motivation for it, and what do you do?
Yeah, so I want to preface this by, one of the things I love in this business is people think, well, why is a divorce attorney and a personal trainer and entrepreneur and freelance writer, why are they sitting here doing this? And so I've really been looking at kind of parallels in business and life. And, in business, for example, we talk on a monthly basis with our team about creating habits and forming habits. We do the same thing with clients in the legal situation. The habits they form, including, ways and outlets to live in their best interests, as we call it, is, that can be kind of cliche here, but it really is a thing that transcends to how they raise kids, how they impact a community. So for me, like Andrea said, I don't let people take me off axis. So if you're a client listening to this, or a potential client, if I'm on my walk and I'm doing consults, I'm on my walk and doing consults. And I'll hear people say, well, I could hear the wind in the background. I'm like, good. And I hope I can hear the wind in the background of your ear when I talk to you too, because it changes mood. And that's why I was really curious with you, Chacha. I was like, how does, when somebody's really in a funk, and I see that on a day-to-day basis, oftentimes they say, divorce clients get people at their worst. And I really hope that God put me on this earth to be more than just a divorced dude, right? You asked me that a little bit before. And so my question to you is, like, when you've got the person, let's take both ends of the spectrum, because I know you talked to me before about working with jiu-jitsu people and that are at the height of or pinnacle of what they consider physical health. And then, but they've got mental components too, I'm assuming. And then let's say somebody who has never set foot in the gym, doesn't even own a pair of shoes. What's the first steps you would tell, like, each of them?
Man, we already covered, kind of what's your why. You hinted on it. Changing your environment or manipulating your environment is really important. Doing things like, okay, if I'm going to commit to doing some kind of strength training or working out activities, going out and getting an outfit. Maybe that's the first step. Starting to create these little steps towards, okay, this is what I'm going to do. When it comes to when I first assess or have an assessment, like a consult with a new client or a potential new client, we talk about, where are they? What are their habits as far as, how are they eating? What time are they eating? When are they drinking? All the kind of the.
So if they bail on you and their accountability is an issue, how do you get that accountability back on track? Because I think that's important for people in all walks of life, including custody cases or whatever else. Like, how do you get that accountability back if you've got the client that's like, hey, I'm going to be there at 9, and all of a sudden they don't show up?
Fortunately, I don't have a lot of those. But here's my belief. All accountability is self-accountability. That's something that was taught to me. When it comes to your health, as much as I would love to do that bench press for you, I would. Wouldn't you love if you can just like sit there and I'll squat and bench and then all of a sudden your muscles just get yoked up.
Yeah.
I would love to give that to you.
It's like the divorce client that just goes, hey, you tell them what the story is.
That's it. It's like, I would love to do that. But the reality is this, it's on you.
Yeah.
Right. And so when it comes to accountability, that we go back to that why, man. And the people that have the very short list of people that just haven't made it, we've not been a match. It's been, honestly, I feel like they face the reality of what it takes to make the changes that they want, and they realize they don't want it.
Now, I'm presuming like in that category too, you get into places where people are maybe not having a good day, right? You get a relationship over years. And so what do you notice just physiologically? Because I talk a lot about, spirituality and physical health being a huge component of what we do and why we can succeed outside of just the lawyer that rah-rahs, right? Yeah. So what do you do when that client is like down that day? And what do you notice the physiological changes just from the time they step into that and get past that feeling?
Sure. So every day is an assessment. Every session is an assessment. The moment my client walks in, I'm asking them how their day is going. I'm asking them, we're just talking.
Why do you do that?
Okay. Because, I need to know where they are, and I need them to know where I am, right? So we're trying to, if you will, calibrate our energies. And so as I'm assessing, and depending on how bad of a day they may be having, if they're having a really bad day, it's not going to come out, right? There's not going to be a lot that comes out. And so based on some cues, typically I'll ask, okay, how's your body feeling? And with the clients that I've trained pretty consistently, their bodies do the same thing when they're highly stressed. And so if I hear mention of, oh yeah, my hip's been bothering me, I'm like, okay, cool. I make a mental note of that. And throughout the training session, depending on where they are, they may need to just I need to keep my head down and work for the next hour so that I don't have to think about this, or I have so much on my plate. I have so much weighing me down. I just need to be able to do a set and then air out, whether it's silently or talking things out.
And that's like the short window. And so I'm curious too, like when you talk about like walking into the gym and leaving, and I don't want to get too narrow there.
No, I got you.
I want to broaden it out a little bit. So from somebody that was hyper stressed, like a custody case or a divorce case or litigation or just business in general, we all have different business aspects that we carry around with us on a day-to-day basis. And you wake up and your family member, you find out it's going to pass away or something like that. I mean, life hits us fast. So what have you noticed between the people that you say are routine driven and have the focus from where they started? Like, give me the weakest example to where they progressed. Like, if you can think of one person that started that said they could not get up and do a workout and then they progressed, and what has that done to their life? I'm curious.
I got you. So, the people that I work with tend to have a lot on their plate. They tend to have many plates spinning. And so what I've noted that the changes that consistency has brought, physiologically, it ebbs and flows. Obviously, for those that have, some people come in with a little bit of elevated blood pressure and things like that, and that typically goes away once they're consistent. But for me, I think I spend more time, you said spiritual.
I think that's important because when we talk about the parallels between businesses and life, right. Like I don't stop at just, you don't just stop at a rep on a workout. Right. So I want to touch on like that and how you really hit home to people with that nature.
Right.
So if you can touch on that a little bit.
Man, I let people be. I wish we were in the gym right now. I do. I wish, because it's a balance of I let people be who they are and who they need to be in that moment as we're reaching towards our goals of, okay, hey, I'm in here to improve my health. And so by letting people be in the moment or in the season that they're in, like I have several clients right now that have a lot going on, and I can tell. And we were talking about diet, nutrition, and the people that are super consistent also are consistent beyond just the gym. They'll also eat well and they'll do everything.
And do you help with that too? Like,
we talk about everything. Okay. Yeah. So I offer guidelines. Man, if what you'll learn about me is I'm very basic. I used to believe I'm not very intelligent, And so I used to find the easiest way to understand something. I found out I was. So I keep things super simple, right? I go to the fundamental level. And if anything, either grew out of the ground or walked on the earth, chances are it's going to be good for you to eat. And typically whenever we
So how does diet,
stressed,
like, just sorry to interrupt, but how does diet impact the, as far as the overall presence in the gym and consistent routine?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So when it comes to stress, right? We've heard of stress eating, right? Everybody's familiar with that.
Yes.
The need for can I get a little nerdy for just
Absolutely,
a second?
please.
Okay, just a second. So one of the neurotransmitters that we secrete, like serotonin, right? If that goes a little bit too low, you know what helps that? Sugar. So we'll get these sweet cravings.
Yeah.
Right. And so when it comes to being in a high stress situation and physiological what's taking place, there's seasons where, Andrea, you remember, I was like, go eat some cheesecake. I'm not advising people they need to be eating sweets all the time, but one of the seasons that we walked through together was like kind of a dip, kids, life, it's crazy, college, all that. And I would just see pretty consistently over the weeks, like, okay, we're getting a little low. And the conversation like, oh, I need to eat this. I need to make sure I'm eating. It's like, no, you need some cheesecake. So it's really, it's almost reactive in a sense. But for the people that are consistent, it's I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, did they?
Exactly.
I mean, like, so I see like the Navy SEALs of the world that can get up and just they go at a different speed, and their energy is different, right?
Yes.
And one of the things I have the luxury of doing is being around a ton of different types of people, as I'm sure you do as well. So I guess my curiosity is like, so when the mind takes over, like, I don't want to get up, I don't want to do this. One of the things I tell the clients, kind of like what you said, is 24 hours increments. Like, don't look at the big picture that your life is over because you're getting a divorce or you're going through this tough situation. Think about that God is good. Let's start there. Think about the fact that we've got 24 hours to get through this day, and then let's keep shortening it. It's like you said, the first step. And so, from a standpoint of the correlation from how you deal with clients, I'm curious. I guess the question I had was, what have you really noticed as far as like the biggest improvement that you've seen in an individual, and like how that transitioned into their business, their personal life, how they raise their kids?
You know what I'm noticing now, Justin, as you're asking me these questions, is those that do, and those that don't, won't. And there's a distinction between people that are motivated and people that are not. And that's the fact. There's people that are motivated, people that aren't.
So how does somebody that's not, like, how do they take it?
He doesn't have those
I would
clients.
love, I would say, man, I guess I'm a little embarrassed to say I know there's some out there. I cannot think of an example in my immediate history of, yes, I can. This is a long time ago.
There we go.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. Well, oh, geez. They quit.
Yeah.
They quit. The people that were not motivated would always find a way to blame me for the outcomes that they weren't getting, and the outcomes that they were getting that weren't
I've
beneficial.
never had that happen
Isn't that
to me.
weird? It's like,
crazy.
hey, man,
It's just
I'm not doing anything you asked me to.
So business do
and
things
then, what's wrong with you? You're not pushing me. And then when you go to push, it's like, oh, are you trying to kill me? Like, well, I'm trying to kill part of you, but not,
You're
it's,
damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, man.
So when it comes to somebody, now, there are times where my motivated clients do have low days, and or maybe low season, and we'll adapt. So there's been times where we've just stretched, right? There's been times where I've intentionally done a hard workout but outdoors, right, to get some sunlight, to change the environment of where we typically push hard. And so seeing how this translates into business, I can't say for sure a one-to-one correlation, but with some of my clients that have had the privilege of being able to, go from one business, perhaps sell that business, go to another one, that time period of going through the due diligence and everything and the stress of that, man, having just the consistency, being able to come in, I'll say it played a part in helping them manage that.
Yeah, that
really well.
I wanted to go there next because I'm thinking about, we talked about the person that really struggled, and there's people that are just going to give up, and they'll give up on their attorneys, they'll give up on their friends, their family, and we preach the half full method at our firm as well, and sometimes we're just not the right fit, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about the people that just knock it out of the park, like your clients that are. Because you strike me as a holistic type of approach, dude. Like you want to get to know somebody, you want to know their soul, you want to know their physiology and dietary and all that, which I think is super, super critical in our space to think about those things. I want to know, like on the highest end person that's going through those business transitions, what do you see the most routine habits from those people if you have an opportunity to see those?
Man, for one, they come in.
Okay.
Right.
They just show up.
They show up.
Regardless.
They show up. Yeah. And the really, actually the top end, there may be a transaction very rarely where I need to be by my phone. But even then, like the phone is set off to the side. It's that commitment. It's that dedication. Same thing.
And that's for them. That's their personal time that they take for them.
Because what I believe I've observed is they understand the physiological difference that it makes when it comes to training and what that does for their performance. And so, there's a lot that's taking place while we're training when you're doing specifically strength training, but any other kind of like more high intensity type training, the changes that are taking place in your brain and in your body, that those do transcend. They transcend everything. So the decision making, the adaptation to challenges, to resistance, all those translate over. And so those people that you're referring to, I mean, you're sitting next to one of them. They're just,
I know.
They're unstoppable. It's insane, and it's motivating to me. I
have to say those two things. First of all, the habit. We talked about the habit. That's the most important thing for people that struggle and don't know where to start. You have to make it a habit, and even if it's driving to the gym and driving back home. And then next week you might drive to the gym, do one exercise, and drive back home. Right. Make it a habit. It takes a while to form habits. That's number one. Number two, give you props. He has an amazing way of connecting with people on a spiritual level. I mean, we have said that before. We should record every of our sessions as a podcast because we talk about God, we talk about business, we talk about kids while we're working out. And he knows me inside out. So he can read me when I walk into the gym already. And I've never seen this with other trainers because you have those trainers that are the drill sergeant, or do 5 reps, do 10 reps, heavier weight. You do that too. And I bitch about the stuff that I don't like. I ask that too. Is it that not too heavy? But he has a way of connecting with you. So for me, it's like, I don't want to let him down. So I think he plays a big part when you have a good trainer. The habit is, it's all in myself. I have to do it too. But I don't want to let him down. And that's why I also show up, because I don't want to let him down and just, I don't feel like today. Because even when I'm halfway sick, I still push myself and go. So I think there's two sides to it. Your own stuff, but you have to have a trainer on the other side, or business partner, whatever, that helps you, that pushes you or pulls you when you're not able to do it yourself.
Right. I will say, man, I realize that I set expectations, a lot of time unrealistic expectations, but they're positive. They're going towards a goal. So it's like they come in, they have expectations of me, and it's a two-way street. And so I have expectations of my clients because I want the best for them. And that's what, when it comes to some of those down days, some of those down times, it's like, this was what's on the calendar. You don't appear to have anything missing or, any kind of significant issues. So we're going to go for it. Even though motivationally you may not want to, that's like, I know you want to. So I'm going to make sure you get it, even though you're like, you know what I mean?
No, and I dig this whole situation because I'm sandwiched between a physical trainer and then my business trainer. Like Andrea pushes me when days I just don't want to do it, but I show up. What, to your point, I show up.
That's it.
I mean, there's times where I ramble, like on this podcast sometimes, but I show up and do it.
That's it.
And I care what the hell happens to people, and I want to know them so that we can help them. It's in our business, just like you said, it's the people that just don't, they're always a half empty. There's always an excuse. There's always a reason. It's always the judge's fault. It's always their spouse's fault. And, you got to, there's only so much bandwidth that I feel like in our life that we can bring those people into our life.
Right.
And I think that's just mission critical that we align forces, and you're smart enough to bring those people that push you into that next arena. And you're also humble enough to accept the information. And so
Because you don't know. I mean, like,
don't
I don't
know.
know. I mean, I know enough to be dangerous about working out, right? But I don't know I don't have the level of expertise he has. Like I said earlier, he makes me do exercises, and I'm like, really? And those exercises then lead to something else, or he tells me what to eat or how much water to drink. I don't understand all of that stuff, but I have to trust that he knows what he's doing. And if I trust the process, I'm going to get the results. And I think that's what you're struggling with some of the clients is they don't trust the process. Lawyers have potentially bad reputation.
Sure.
There's a lot of bad ones out there that don't have process in place. They're overcharged. They do all those negative things. So when they meet you or the rest of the team, they don't trust. And because they don't trust, they question everything. Bad experiences, their friends tell them stuff. But if they would just trust the process, ask questions, or sometimes just say, I might not understand, let them handle it, and then ask afterwards, it would make it much easier. But that's a hard thing to do, to really submit to somebody that knows more than you do in a
It
certain
is.
area.
It's
That's
just
hard for
natural.
a lot of people. Arrogant. I had a great education. What can he or she tell me? I know everything. And that, like you said, humbleness and say, I don't know, let him tell me or her tell me.
We were talking about that coachability earlier. I think you asked me a question about that while we were getting ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about coachability.
So
What does that mean to you?
yeah, so the question you asked me earlier while we're preparing for this was, what's the difference between my high-level athletes and my personal training clients, my high-level personal training clients? And the similarities are that they are both driven. The high-level athletes, the coachability tends to be on a higher level because, well, for one, they've just been told what to do as athletes. You know, here's how you throw a baseball. This is how you catch. This is how you throw somebody, et cetera. And so they're accustomed to receiving, instruction. For my clients, on the other hand, they're typically the ones that are making the decisions that move the ship this way or the other. And so it's not that they're not coachable, but my coaching style has to be so different because, if I say, hey, this is what we're going to do, well, they have an idea. Okay, well, I know this much about this information. I'm accustomed to making decisions or what have you. And so they'll weigh in, and I love that. It's sharpened me a lot.
Yeah.
There's just sometimes like, you know what, because I said so, or you know what, I don't know, I made it up, you're going to do it anyway. But one thing I really have found that is a service to my clients is there's this decision fatigue that they come in with.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to ask, what do you want to do today? Which is kind of a facetious question, but there would be this like, oh, geez, I got to make another decision. I don't care. Just tell me what to do. And I've learned over time is for the people that are making a whole lot of decisions, it is a pleasure to get in and just be told 5 more reps, just be told go to that station and not have to make decisions for an hour. I think that therapeutic aspect of it, I'm learning that more and more every day and realizing, oh yeah, it's a joy to be told what to do and not have to decide, this, that, or the other.
Now, there's another kind of parallel between your two businesses that I want to talk about, and that's the mental health aspect of it. And to me, I believe, if I don't exercise, if I kind of start getting off my habits of exercising, my mental health suffers, And so to me, one of my big whys is that I feel better, I feel less anxious and things like that. So, and I know with Justin's clients, that's something that why you encourage them to take care of themselves too. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the mental health aspect of working out because it really makes a difference. At least it does for me.
Yes, ma'am.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. No, I think it's a direct parallel. A hard set during a workout is like a really hard conversation in life. And the same emotions, there's been times where my clients start crying in the middle of a work set. And yes, it is difficult, but what happens is when you cross over that threshold of difficulty and you go into your mind that you mentioned earlier, you're firing those same neurons that you did when you were having that really hard conversation. And so one thing that exercise does is it inoculates you against stress. Whenever we really push hard and really like Andrea, yesterday was actually kind of a challenging workout where I was relentless because I see her once this week. I was relentless with pushing her. And when you tap into that, the conversations that you're going to have that are hard, it's like, oh, here's that same feeling. My heart rate's elevated. I notice my breathing's a little bit faster. I'm starting to get warm. Oh, this is like when I was doing that 20th repetition of squats. And so it's like an inoculation. So there's lots of studies that are talking about the benefits of strength or exercising in general. That's what it is. It's literally a vaccine against stress by doing the stress.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Because I know if I can't sleep at night, it's because I haven't been working out. And if I work out, I sleep really good.
Yes. And that, oh man, that's exactly right. That's part of the routine. You know, sometimes we think, okay, I need to have enough energy, so let me not, do this, or I need to work out so I can be tired. There's that element, but you've mentioned it's that routine. Even if it's getting something short or quick, just to say that you did it, that's part of that firing those little nerve endings there and saying, okay, I got my daily dose of stress and now I can settle down. So absolutely.
And we wanted to talk about actionable tips for people too. So setting goals is one thing, and that's something that's also both applicable to both of your businesses. I know when we talked earlier prior to the podcast, I said during COVID, my goal was just to work out 3 times a week. And it was going to be whether it was 20 minutes of yoga, whether it was 45 minutes of strength training or whatever it was, 3 times a week. And I did that for a whole year. I was very proud of myself, by the way.
Yeah, you should be. That's awesome.
So, but it's, again, going back to your habits, right, Andrea? I mean, you just start creating those habits and you do it.
Yeah. Goal setting. Yeah, goal setting. I learned this from Michael Phelps, swim coach. It's really brilliant way of thinking about goals. There's process goals and there's outcome goals. And knowing the outcomes that you want is good. That's a big goal. Like, I want to be in the best shape of my life, or, I want to be able to climb, the Grand Canyon or what have you. And then setting those process goals, right? Taking those short steps. Okay, what do I need to do to get to the top of that mountain? Well, for one, you can name the list and breaking that down to the okay, what do I need to do today and now? But having that goal and getting that reward system, I like to keep it super simple. Andrea, you mentioned it, right? I told Justin about the heart rate strap that we got years ago. Just having that and putting that on, that's a goal. That's an accomplishment. Okay, now I know where my heart rate is. Okay, then getting the shoes on is. I try to stack wins. Going kind of touching on the mental health when it comes to goals. Set yourself up to succeed. Right? You know what? I'm going to drink a bottle of water today. Cool. I'm going to open the cap. Congratulations. That's a win. I've opened it. Now I'm going to bring it to my mouth. That's a win. Okay, now I got to sip. That's a win. And always constantly big up, encouraging yourself. Right? Like you talked about people that are just, their energy drains. Man, you can be a victim or you could be a victor, right? And there's some circumstances that are absolutely horrible. Just crazy, just not good, but you still have the choice and you can make the decision to, this isn't going to stop me from moving, even if it's taking a step. My goal today is to take 10,000 steps, okay? Whether that's metaphorically or actually physically doing that. Man, whatever the circumstances are, if you can take that first step, you can take that second one. So when it comes to goals, setting yourself up to succeed, writing, who does this? Like I'll write lists. And then if I get to the end of the day, I'll add stuff on there just so I could check it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 'Cause I'm a winner. I want to win.
Well, and that's, with just not just mental suffering, which, we experience a lot of, but the physical pain. I think God put us on this earth to experience suffering so we sharpen our swords. I really believe that. And I think if you, like your approach is kind of what I'm hearing you say is very much the way I look at life, which is look at the wins, understand the losses and learn from them, but look at the wins and move forward. And when you look backwards, all of a sudden now you go, man, that wasn't that hard. Right. Let's move up to our next set of wins and just keep pushing. Right. And I think from the mental health side, from our custody cases and divorce cases, when I see people, it's not a money thing. It's not a pride thing. I love the people that just bury their pride and say, we trust that you trust the process, and they kick forward. And that applies to all businesses. My wife has this regiment, like you talked about. She wakes up in the morning at 5 a.m. She's got 3 kids. She's got businesses. So, I just keep this mindset of, don't tell me you can't do it. Right. Now, I have the luxury of living next to another lioness, right? So that's cool. Yeah. And not everybody has all that skill sets, but I just think that it's so neat Chacha, when you come in here and people go, what the hell is a trainer doing with a lawyer and all this crap? And you go, man, this is a people business. We're in the business to change the world one human at a time.
Yep.
And if you change the world 1,000, fantastic. 1,000,000, even better. Yeah. But I just dig your vibe, man. I just love what you preach, man.
I appreciate you. No, it's that exponential growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes through working with individuals. Man, that's super encouraging, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think we can wrap up this first segment of this is going to be a 2-part podcast because we've got lots more to talk
We're
about.
We're going to nerd out on the next one.
We're going to nerd out. We're going to learn more about Chacha's pillars of health, which is really important. We'll give some more actionable tips that people can take, and then also we want to talk about a little bit more about diet and myths and things that, like, if you're watching TikTok, it's like, oh, I'm going to drink a cup of cinnamon or something like that. So, well,
that's hard.
Catch that, and I know, doesn't that sound awful? So we're going to wrap up today's podcast. But in the meantime, if you want to connect with personal trainer Brian Chacha, you can reach him by phone at 817-222-1577. You can also go to strengthstudio.com and get this. If you use the code podcast, you can book a complimentary consultation with Chacha. So awesome. And then, of course, if you want to speak with Justin Sisemore and his team, you can reach the Sisemore Law Firm at 817-336-4444 or visit lawyerdfw.com. Thanks so much for listening and have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Great job.